Great Odin's Raven!
I feel the need for speed.
Ow! Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah!
Hey! Where did you get those clothes? At the toilet store?
And I thought my jokes were bad.
Good afternoon, good morning, and welcome, guys. It's back. We're back. Patrick, Mattyice, and the Chief, we're here. I think it's safe to say it's both of our favorite time of the year. Is that right?
This is a national holiday for me, you, and probably 7 other people in the world.
Tom McShay and Mel Kiper may be the only people that enjoy draft time as much as you and I. But, you know, our buddy Roger, I've been talking to him all night, and he's another guy who's been trying to explain this phenomenon of the draft to other people who have no idea what it is. And I think it's kind of one of those things, if you don't get it, you're never going to get it. I feel like that's safe to say. But we do get the draft, and we do love the draft. And so, look, first round just ended not too long ago. We're going to go through the picks. We're going to talk about most, if not all of them. And we'll see where this goes. We're going to try not to make this too super long because we do have 2 more days of draft to talk about. And so we're going to be trying to get these out super quick, 3 in the next couple days. So sit back and get ready to listen to some stuff. I'll go ahead and mention this before we really get going. Make sure you're following us on Twitter. We've been kind of quiet the last couple of weeks. Big things have been happening for the Chief and I. We've both relocated to Memphis, so that's why we've been in a little state of flux, not knowing what we're doing. So we're here, we're back, we're ready to go. Draft is the perfect time to bring it back. So make sure you're following us on Twitter. Keep up with us on there. Shoot us some questions about the next couple rounds of the draft. If there's a guy you want to know about, we'll try and talk about him tomorrow. But with that, Patrick, let's start. Obviously, we got to start with the number 1 pick overall. Not much of a surprise. It's been the rumor for months that it was going to be Jameis Winston. The Buccaneers do go ahead and pick up Jameis Winston. What do you think of that, Patrick?
I think it's... Obviously, there's not a good quarterback in this draft. Let's get that out of the way right now.
Oh, we may talk about that more when we get to the next pick. But continue with your...
My opinion, there's not a good quarterback in this draft.
Fair enough.
Jameis, obviously, falls in that category. Not a good quarterback. But he's the safest quarterback, in my opinion.
Okay.
He's obviously not good, but I think he's better than the rest of them. Out of the Mariota and Winston comparison, I think Mariota has the most potential to be better out of the two.
Okay.
But out of the gate, week 1, if you need a starter, week 1, I think he's the safer out of the two. I'm not saying 10 years from now he's going to have the better career. I'm saying he has the best chance for you to win week 1 for your match.
That's probably the fairest way to say it. Safer.
Yes, safer.
Not safest or best or whatever. I do agree with you there to some degree, which for people who know anything about me, no, I'm not a Jameis Winston fan at all. I don't think he's a good quarterback. I do agree with you. He is from a more pro style. And so I understand the reasoning there, but I'll bring up something that has been brought up by a couple people here and there. Look at the last 2 guys to come from that system. Christian Ponder and E.J. Manuel, neither one of them has done good. And so does that system really make an NFL-ready quarterback? Or do people think, hey, this guy comes from a quote-unquote pro system, surely he's going to be an NFL-ready quarterback and therefore overvalue him?
I agree. But let's keep in mind, Oregon quarterbacks fall in the exact same category.
No.
Not pro style.
No.
Not pro style.
I agree with you on that.
But system-wise, they fall in the exact same category as Florida State quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I have seen the exact same comparisons as everyone else has seen that Florida State quarterbacks, while they look as if they're most prepared and most ready after playing with Florida State to be NFL-style quarterbacks, they never pan out.
Yeah, I can give you that. They're very similar schools in the sense that, they don't exactly produce the most successful NFL quarterbacks. I'll say this, and we've talked about this obviously a lot over the last couple of days, especially building up to the draft. I'm not totally sure that either Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota is a first-round quarterback in any other draft. If you take a couple guys from maybe the last couple years, I don't think they rank up there as high as those guys. Obviously, there's no Andrew Luck in this draft. There's no
Tannehill in this draft.
Tannehill, fair. There's probably not even a Russell Wilson in this draft. Now, granted, I know a lot of people didn't see Russell Wilson coming. I'm not going to say that back then I thought he was going to be as good as he is. I thought he was going to be a good NFL quarterback. I didn't think he was going to be a Super Bowl champ already. I'm okay with this as a Seattle fan. Don't get me wrong. But I did think he was going to be good. I don't think there's a guy like this in the draft. Possibly. We're going to talk more about that, obviously, here with the next guy, which we're going to move on to here in just a second.
Speaking of Russell Wilson, where's your Russell Wilson t-shirt?
I had a feeling he gets. I knew you were going to do that.
It's draft day. You have your Russell Wilson t-shirt on. I don't care. You don't have the first-round pick. You have to wear it.
The Russell Wilson shirt, for those of you, this caused a bit of a problem earlier because obviously, again, this is a big deal for me and Patrick. So we went to go get some snacks and some food and stuff, and we had it all planned out. And then Matt couldn't find his Russell Wilson shirt, and we still can't find the Russell Wilson shirt. And then we were later leaving. We almost completely missed the first couple minutes of the draft. We didn't though, Patrick.
This is why you have your attire planned ready. I had my jersey hanging up in my closet ready to go. But you know what? You didn't prepare.
You know what? Much like some teams in the draft, I may have done my homework, but when the time came, I wasn't quite ready, quite sure what was going to happen. So look, let's move on. I don't think Jameis Winston in 10 years will be a starting quarterback necessarily. Or I think he might. This is the only comparison I can think of for Jameis Winston. I think he's more of an Eli Manning type of quarterback. Somebody who, for some reason, people think he's really good, but he's going to throw a lot of interceptions. We saw that in college. I don't think, if you look back at the tape from the last 2 years, it's not like those interceptions were interceptions that, were kind of, maybe the ball slipped out of his hand. He threw way too many interceptions for it to be anything other than he's not good at reading a defense, or he struggles at reading a defense at time, and that he's inaccurate. And so I think those are two things to keep an eye on. Similar to Eli Manning, he's going to be a good quarterback. He's probably going to win some games. He may even win a championship or two. But overall, he's going to be an inconsistent quarterback, I think is the best way to look at it. So look, we only had one other quarterback drafted in this draft. He went number 2, despite all the trade rumors and trade talk leading up to the draft. He did go to Tennessee. Marcus Mariota at number 2 to Tennessee. Patrick, how do you feel about that pick?
I'm not a fan. Tennessee has a lot of holes they need to fill, to say the least.
Yes.
I think primarily they need to fix their defense more than anything. They've got some solid guys and receivers. They're not the best, but you can win with them. You can win with Kendall Hunter. You can win with Delaney Walker. You can win with Harry Douglas, who was just acquired. You can win with those guys. Mm-hmm. Bishop Sankey is an up-and-coming running back. You'll see what he's actually made of next year after he's had another year of training camps, studying the playbook, and things like that under his belt. So running back-wise, we'll see what happens. Mettenberger, I feel like while he was a 6th-round pick last year, he's got talent that's far beyond 6th-round grade level, but he has some off-the-field issues. He had the torn ACL late in the year, which obviously made him fall down that far, but it was a steal for Tennessee at that point. He showed signs late in the year that he could be a good quarterback, but he got hurt, had to be put on the IR. But he's had time to heal. He's healthy. He's ready to go. I feel like his coaching staff likes him. I feel like they're wanting to give him another shot. I don't feel like Mariota's going to start from the beginning. I feel like Mettenberger is going to be named the starter to begin with. But I feel like Mettenberger's going to have a short leash. I do.
Yeah, see, I think that's the problem, though. And that's why I think teams like this struggle.
It's going to be a Jacksonville scenario where they had a short leash and then they gave
Bortles the key. Yeah, I think you and me are both kind of in agreement. At least I think we kind of were when the draft was going on, that they probably should have drafted Leonard Williams. Right?
If it's an immediate need, best player in the draft, would have been perfect for him.
I think Leonard Williams, if you're not going to make the trades that we're all talking about, I think that would have been the best pick. Now, that being said, as I just mentioned when we were talking about Winston, I think Mariota's the best quarterback in this draft. I think he has the possibility of being a really, really good, game-changing, Super Bowl-winning quarterback. I think he has the possibility of being a Russell Wilson-type quarterback, but taller. Is essentially what I think he could be. Now, the problem with that is you hear the stigma system quarterback, and if you've listened to the show, if this isn't your first time listening, or if it is your first time, go back and listen to some of the other ones where we talk football, because you'll hear me talk about this probably all the time. And if you listen often, you may be tired of hearing me saying this. All quarterbacks are system quarterbacks. Peyton Manning is a system quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. He's very good in his system, and that doesn't mean that he couldn't adapt to another system, but there is very, very clearly a system that Peyton Manning is best suited for. Now, there's very clearly a system that Marcus Mariota is suited for. There's two, really, I think, in the NFL. One is in Philadelphia. The other is in Seattle. Now, obviously, Seattle doesn't need a quarterback. Philadelphia probably needs a quarterback. And so I don't know where the line was on what they weren't willing to give up to move up there. That probably Tennessee would have been better off trying to make something happen, I think. Getting a couple extra draft picks, maybe dropping down. There may have been some way to work a 3-team trade so they drop down a couple and get Leonard Williams and get a bunch of draft picks, and Philadelphia gets Mariota. Problem is, long story short, I think the only way that Mariota is going to be successful, not just at Tennessee, but in the NFL on a whole, is if they understand that they absolutely have to tailor the offense to Marcus Mariota. Now, I think, and this is why, and I know we have some people who follow the show who are Tennessee fans. Mickey Ryan, if you're listening, you might want to talk to your boys, your brass. They can hire me if they want, because I'm going to tell them what they need to do to make them successful. They need to study everything that the Seattle Seahawks have done since they drafted Russell Wilson. Because if you look at that offense before Russell Wilson gets drafted, it's quite a bit different. It's not the same type of offense that they're running now. Now, what they did is they said, we really like Russell Wilson. We like what he's done. Because you got to remember, Matt Flynn was going to be their quarterback.
Correct. They beat him out in preseason.
And that offense was not going to be the same if Matt Flynn does it. So what do? They took what Russell Wilson was good at and said, we're going to put this in our offense. We're going to make Russell Wilson as successful as he can be, and that'll make the rest of our offense successful and the rest of our team successful. I think Seattle was, and not just because I'm a Seattle fan. I think Seattle, teams like Seattle, teams like New England Patriots are the teams that you want to blueprint your teams at. Who's in the Super Bowl last year?
Seattle and Patriots.
Exactly. They're the two teams. They're the two best teams in the league. They're the two teams that you want to model your organization after. The Patriots are real good about saying, hey, this is our philosophy. We're going to draft a guy to fit this philosophy. Seattle does a lot of the same, but then they also say if they get a guy like Russell Wilson, they say, hey, we got to change up just a little bit to make this guy successful. We're going to do that. If Tennessee changes up their offense just a little bit here and there, they will make Marcus Mariota a successful quarterback in the NFL. You know what it'll also do? It'll also make Bishop Sankey a better running back. because while he's not built like Marshawn Lynch, he's not going to be able to bruise people like Marshawn Lynch. Being able to spread it out and get him more space is going to make Bishop Sankey a better running back. So, do I think they should have picked Marcus Mariota there? Probably not. I don't think he's a good fit. I don't think right now. I don't think he's a good fit. If they listen to what I just said, he can be a good fit. I think Leonard Williams was a better pick. He's not. That's not what you did. Adjust your offense, and you should be okay. But maybe listen to me in the future. Maybe listen to Patrick too, because Patrick had the same idea, roughly. So Marcus Mariota could be good, could not be. All depends on what happens with that offense. Moving on to pick number 3, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're not going to have a whole lot of discussion here, I don't think. I think we both agree that this is a very good pick, and that they picked the right guy at the right spot and the right fit for their team. Jacksonville picks up Dante Fowler Jr. Patrick, that's a good fit.
It's an excellent fit. Fits an immediate need. They have not had a pass rush in a very long time. I believe it was 2012. They drafted Deion Jordan out of Oregon. They thought it was going to be a speedy pass rusher.
Didn't work.
He just got popped for a whole year suspension. He's only played special teams.
He's in Miami. Deion Jordan's in Miami.
He, quote unquote, is in Miami. He's on the couch.
Well, fair enough. But no, you're right. Jacksonville hasn't had a good rusher. They're getting that with Fowler. He's an athlete. He's from the Florida area. Obviously plays college at Florida. I think that's a good fit for sure. Now, at number 4, I'm going to say we have a bit of a surprise. And only in the fact that it's the Oakland Raiders and that for the second year in a row, they've done a good job in the first round. Now, there was a little bit of... me and you talked about it. It was kind of almost a little bit of they're the Oakland Raiders. They could have screwed it up, but the choice between Amari Cooper and Leonard Williams was essentially what you were thinking they were going to do. They were going to go one way or the other. They go with Amari Cooper, and while I feel like it's hard for the Raiders, I'm sure, to pass up a good receiver. This isn't Darius Hayward-Bay, though, is it? No. So I think this is a good pick, Patrick. They could have gone Leonard Williams here. Do you think they'd have been better going off Leonard Williams, or was it kind of just flip a coin, whichever guy you want?
Every mock draft that you read since God knows how long, they've had Cooper going to Oakland. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a perfect fit. Now, if you had them picking Leonard Williams, it's essentially the Amari Cooper of the defensive side of the ball.
Agreed. Yeah, that's
Fits
a good way to put it.
Immediate need. They need another pass rusher. You can't go wrong with drafting Leonard Williams. Like we said earlier, best player in the draft going in. So if they drafted Leonard Williams, no one's going to be mad about it. No one's going to scoff at it. Mm-hmm. Everyone's going to be excited about it. Now, if you drafted Amari Cooper, which they did, everyone's going to be excited about it because that's who they wanted. Yeah. They needed to give Derek Carr another weapon. I know they just picked up. They just get.
The thought escapes me right now. I've heard it's one of those things you hear so many names over the couple of hours of the draft that it's hard to remember some of these guys.
They just signed a receiver from San Francisco.
Crabtree.
They just signed Crabtree. I think they should put him in the slot. They put Amari Cooper on one of the ends.
Cooper's better than Crabtree.
Well, we all know that.
Without doubt.
We all know that.
Cooper's immediately your number one, and he's a very good number one.
But they're doing what they're supposed to do and giving their quarterback weapons to succeed, which they've got a solid O-line to begin with.
Yeah.
So that helps them.
Their O-line's much improved. Derek Carr, I think, with a couple more weapons, is going to be a lot better this next year. I still really like Derek Carr. I know a lot of people were kind of iffy on him, especially after last season. I think he'll be fine. Don't worry about him. Give him a couple more years. He'll be good.
I know with Colby Harper. Colby, if you're listening, Raider Nation, first off.
And Nick Lozano. We know a couple Raiders.
And Nick Lozano. We actually know Raider fans. They do exist. Good pick. My advice, second round going in. You've got another early pick, as you always do. Draft a running back.
That could be.
You haven't had a good running back this is coming from an Arkansas fan. I love D-Mac. You have not had a good running back since. I don't know.
I can't really. Marcus Allen. Is that the last good running back there?
Marcus Allen reference. You know how long it's been.
I'm
Draft Duke Johnson. That's all I'm going to say. Draft Duke
Absolutely
Johnson.
draft Duke Johnson.
You draft Duke Johnson after you got Amari Cooper. You have already won the draft.
I would give
every team might as well just stop drafting.
I'll grade you. If you draft Duke Johnson, I'll grade you an A+ right now.
You can just poop the bed from rounds 3 through 7.
Just don't even pick anybody.
Already got an A+.
Just flip a coin and pick whoever's at the top of the list. That's what you can do after you get Duke Johnson. I think that'd be perfect.
You can just drink a little bourbon after that pick and just be like,
we're victory champagne.
Who's up
we're
the top?
We're good. We're
Who's
good.
Up the top? Get him. I don't care.
Look, let's try and get through. We'll try and get through the next, the rest of the top 10 fairly quickly. There's not a whole lot of surprises going on there. Number 5, I think the only surprise with Washington getting Brandon Sheriff is that they don't go ahead and pick up Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams drops another spot. Again, and we talked about this during the draft. Not necessarily a bad pick, but I think that they could have traded down a couple spots. And granted that there may have just not been any offers. They could have traded down a couple spots and got the same guy. I think Leonard Williams would have fit a need for them as well. Mm-hmm. But if the tackle is your guy and you do need someone to block for whoever the heck's going to play quarterback for you, because you don't really have one, because RG3 is not a good quarterback. But whoever's going to play quarterback is going to need somebody to block for him. If he's your guy, get him. I don't think it's a bad pick. I just think you maybe could have traded down and still got him.
I mean, I think this pick took a while to get in, and like you said, maybe they were entertaining trying to trade down, but the price was too high.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't was willing to give enough, and they're like, you know what? If we're not going to get what we want, why don't we just go ahead and pick him anyway?
Yeah.
So he's probably the top of their board. I like the pick. I didn't expect it. I expected them to get Leonard Williams because
again, best player on the board.
Best player on the board. Like I said, I had Williams going to Washington, but you know what? It's the smartest pick. It's kind of like the Cowboys the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Drafting a center 2 years ago, then drafting Zach Morton last year.
Mm-hmm.
Not the sexy pick.
No, not at all. But
not the flashy pick.
He's an Iowa corn-fed offensive lineman. He should be a good solid pick.
Smartest pick available. Like you said, cornbread fed. Big Ten linemen are the best linemen.
Yeah. Boring football, good offensive lineman.
If you want a lineman,
go to the Big Ten.
Go to the Big Ten. If you want anything else,
don't.
If you want anything else, go anywhere else.
So at number 6, we've got finally the New York Jets taking Leonard Williams. A bit of a shock because that wasn't totally a need, but I think that's a case of the guy falls to you at number 6. He's the best player on the board. You go ahead and take him. That's not that. If there had been a quarterback available, I think they would have gone there. But obviously, with no quarterback being available at that point, you go Leonard Williams. You take him and maybe trade one of your other guys. See what you can get after the fact. No surprise there. No argument there. Like I said, maybe could have fit some other needs, but if there's no guy on your board that levels up there with Leonard Williams, you go ahead and take it. Nobody's going to argue with it. At number 7, you got Chicago taking Kevin White, wide receiver from West Virginia.
No surprise.
No surprise.
No surprise at all.
I'm still in the camp that I think that's a bit of a reach. Not necessarily. I'll say this. Not in the sense that he's a bad player or anything. I'm not sure if he's 100% polished enough to be a top 10 wide receiver.
I see the hype. I've watched some film on him.
He's raw.
I see the flash.
Yeah.
He's raw. I do see the flash, so I see the hype. Great combine. We see guys who have great combines and hoop the bed. And then we see Don Terry Poe, who has a great combine, and then Fisher Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think he could be one of those guys who long 10, 12, 14-year career and be multi-year 1,000-yard receiver.
Part of that is I hope that they checked how good he is at swatting the ball as well. Because with Jay Cutler throwing the ball at him, he's probably going to have to swat away a couple of interceptions and turn into a bit of a defensive back at times.
So let's be fair. This is probably his last year.
This probably is. Moving on, at number 8, we got Atlanta, who goes ahead and picks the outside linebacker, Vic Beasley. Patrick, I'm guessing from your fist pump there, I think you think that's a good pick.
For Atlanta, who needs help in every way possible, great pick. You know the last time they had pass rushing in Atlanta?
Never. I can't think of it.
No. Yeah. Whenever Abraham was like 10 years younger.
Yeah, that's about all I can think of.
So, yeah, they needed pass rushing. Vic Beasley fits that bill perfectly.
That's the thing. I think he looks, to me, watching film on him, he looks like a Dan Quinn guy. Dan Quinn, obviously, for those of you who aren't Seattle fans, former defensive coordinator, now head coach at Atlanta. Likes those guys, likes those kind of tweeners in a sense between defensive ends and outside linebackers. I think he's not got he doesn't have the off the field issues that maybe Bruce Irvin had coming in, obviously, but he does kind of remind me a bit of that third down, put your hand down and get to the quarterback sort of guy, and so it should be a good fit there. Number 9, New York Giants. Get Eric Flowers, offensive tackle out of Miami. Good fit for them. I think it's another case, kind of like Brandon Sheriff. And I think we'll see this trend with offensive tackles kind of throughout this draft. I think they would have been available a couple spots down. My guess is they just couldn't find enough value in a trade to drop a few spots and get the same guy in a different spot.
I think what happened, whenever Washington picked Sheriff, everyone else had the Patrick Howie syndrome where everyone thought that Sheriff was going to fall to the Giants and then Flowers was going to fall and all in the right direction. And then when Washington did what Washington does and screws up everything, they're like, well, what are we supposed to do now?
Yeah, it kind of adjusted a little bit.
And so they had to pick their next rated lineman.
Which is
fine.
Yeah, it's not a bad pick. I think he probably would have been available in the 12, 13, 14, 15 sort of range.
It shows you the position they wanted.
Yeah.
But I think it shows you it's not the player they wanted.
I don't know about that.
Not their top rated.
Well, no, probably not. I mean, I think most people are probably going to have it rated out
on their wish list. It's on their Christmas list, but not the top of their Christmas list.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Mom, what I told you was too expensive.
So I'll take this instead.
And
they're happy with it.
It's fine. It's not like it's a bad thing. It's not like it's not like you asked for an iPod and you got a Zune instead. Okay? It's not like that at all. It's like you asked for like an iPod Touch and you got like an iPod Classic. So you're still okay.
You still got an iPod.
Yeah, either way, you still got an iPod. So at number 10, we got St. Louis picking up Todd Gurley.
First major reach of the day.
First major reach.
Hate this pick. I hate it.
I'm also not a fan. Now, I'm not a fan mostly because I absolutely hate taking running backs in the first round. I absolutely hate taking running backs in the first 2 rounds, really, because there's so much value. I mean, you look at a guy. Let's see. I'm just thinking guys on their roster. They got Trey Mason. I know Patrick's over here pulling up some stats to make sure because he's going to try and school us on what he did at the end of the year last year because we both like Trey Mason. And I just don't. You got a guy coming off an ACL tear. You got a guy who is just. I'm just going to say he's just another running back. I mean, sure, he may be a really good running back, but he's just another running back. And I personally think running backs are a dime a dozen, especially in the NFL. You can plug guys in, and they can be successful running backs if you have a good team. Let's see. Trey Mason, Patrick, can you tell us what he did right at the end of the season, the last couple games?
I haven't found a game-by-game basis, but I will tell you this. He played in 12 games. Most of those he started later in the year. He appeared in beginning of the season. I think he started the last 4 or 5. But he rushed for 765 yards.
Yeah, not bad. Especially on a team that...
With a rookie, he probably played the majority of the time in like 5, 6 of those. If he would have played in 10, 12, majority of the time, he'd have been a 1,000-yard guy, would have got like 8 touchdowns. That's like second That's your second starting fantasy running back.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Those kind of numbers.
I'm not a fan of this pick because I think it's a bit of a reach.
I love Gurley. I love watching him play in Georgia. I think if he would have stayed healthy, then I think that he would have been. There would have been so many trade offers for him. People would fight and clawing for Todd Gurley. But I think it's a bit of a reach. I'm not saying that he doesn't have the potential to be a 10th rated player. I'm saying that at the number 10 spot with the Rams, it's not a good fit. No, they have too many other needs they have.
That's the problem.
Offensive line that needs to be boosted up. They don't have a number one receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I think safety is a bit of a need for them. I think outside linebacker is a bit of a need for them. Inside, they're fine. Outside, I think they need to boost up a little bit. Obviously, their defensive line is stacked beyond belief.
Yeah.
But I think there's other needs. I don't think running back is a
Absolutely.
need.
There's other needs. I'm going to give you, and then we got to go to break, so I'm going to give you a couple names, and you tell me if Todd Gurley is on the same level as this guy. Bo Jackson. No. I'm going to answer it for you. No.
Why are you asking me if you don't Bo Jackson level? He hasn't played it down in the NFL yet.
This is my point. Was he Bo Jackson in college? No. He wasn't as good as Bo Jackson in college. Is he Herschel Walker? No. Is he Adrian Peterson? No. Is he Walter Payton? No. If he's not those four guys, there's no point in drafting the guy in the first round. If you can't look at him and say, I can 100% say he's going to be a really, 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 really good Hall of Fame level running back, you shouldn't be drafting him in the first round because there's value later on.
I could see him be Hall of Fame running back.
I don't see it yet. He's got too many questions coming out about his health, and whether he's durable enough to do it, and he's a running back. And most teams are going to do platoon running backing anyways.
Wait. So you're telling me he can't be a Hall of Fame running back because he's a running back?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
You just said if you can't say that he's going to be a Hall of Fame running back, don't draft him in the first round.
Yeah.
And so you're naming all these reasons why you shouldn't draft him in the first round.
Yeah.
And you're saying, and he's a running back.
I don't think he's
so
going to be
essentially you're saying he's not a Hall of Fame running back because he's a running back.
What I'm saying is not a first-round pick. I don't think any running back is a first-round pick value-wise. I think all running backs should be drafted outside of the first round, unless you're Walter Payton, unless you're Herschel Walker.
I don't think he is.
And you 100% know that, and you don't with Todd Gurley. Because Todd Gurley could pull a Marcus Lattimore and have his other knee rip in half.
You have that same scenario with any person who steps on the field.
You do, but not. He's a guy who has durability issues, and he's had durability issues. And so there's something to that. He doesn't hold up to contact as well. He's a running back. You know the shelf life of running backs as it is, which is lower today than it was back in the day when those guys were around. All I'm saying.
Look,
I'm saying that knowing that Bo Jackson didn't have a long career because of durability. And Todd Gurley is not as good as Bo Jackson was.
All I'm saying.
And he has the same durability questions.
All I'm saying, 29, Todd Gurley's still available. I would poop my pants if the Colts drafted Todd Gurley.
Yeah, because your team was dumb enough to trade for Trent Richardson.
We don't talk about that anymore. That's we moved on. It's not on the roster. That's Oakland's problem now. Why bring that up? This is a new year. Nothing has anything to do with that now. We are completely past that. We're not even part of the repercussions for that anymore. It's like it never happened.
I just wanted to see your
It's
reaction
like
to that.
it never happened.
Well, what
also
never happened was him gaining more than 3 yards on a carry. So
who is Trent Richardson? He's not on the 54-man roster. Who is this guy?
He's with the Raiders now. So
I don't know who he is.
So the Raiders still need a running back, and this is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Well, look, that's your first 10 picks. We're going to take a break real quick here, then we're going to come back and get going on the rest of them. So we'll be right back. All right, guys, we are back to talk. We're going to try, we'll see, we'll probably get through 11 through 20-ish before we take another break. I think we've got Patrick calmed down a little bit, so we're good to keep going. It's all good. Don't worry, folks. We're good. We're good to go. Patrick gets a little fired up about his Colts. Nothing wrong with that. Look, number 11 spot, Minnesota picks up, which I think was a surprise in the sense that everybody thought they were going to go Devontae Parker. Instead, they pick up cornerback from Michigan State, Trey Waynes. I think that's a good pick. I think he's a really good corner. Is he the best in this draft? Probably.
Yeah. I say he's the best in this draft. On top of the other side of Xavier Rhodes. Definitely in a division where you're fighting nothing but passing.
Yeah.
Fits perfect.
You got Aaron Rodgers and Matt Stafford in that. You need a good cornerback. He's going to get some stats against Jay Cutler if Jay Cutler's still starting at that point in the season. So probably a good pickup. That automatically improves their defensive backfield. At number 12, again, I'm going to say this is a bit of a shock only in the fact that it's Cleveland and they picked Danny Shelton, nose tackle out of Washington, get a lot of people comparing him to a slightly less talented Haloti Ngata, which I think is a fairly good comparison. So a smart pick from Cleveland, which is why it's a bit of a shock.
Smart pick. They were dead last in stopping the run last year. Often he's going to clog up the line very well. No-brainer, smart pick.
Yeah.
Amazingly smart pick from Cleveland. And then they get another pick later on.
Yeah, and we'll get to that, and we're going to stay shocked with the Cleveland Browns a bit. First pick for New Orleans in this round. Also, they get the one from Seattle Seahawks. But this one at number 13, they pick Andrews Pete, offensive tackle out of Stanford. He is going to play offensive tackle at New Orleans. I think this one's a bit of a reach. And again, not necessarily that he's not a decent enough player, but again, I think he was available later on. And depending on how you do your rankings, he may have been lower down than some of the guys that went after him.
Yeah, my latest mock, I had him actually just going one step down to Miami, but at the same time, I think he could have fallen. I think he could have traded back, still gotten him considering the needs of other teams. One New Orleans beat writers already said that Sean Payton announced that he's going to play tackle, he's not going to play guard. So it's a need. Could have fallen back a little bit, got another pick or so, but you know what?
Yeah,
helping out Breeze, so let's see what happens.
If it's your guy, he's there. You want to make sure you get him. Go ahead and draft him. I'm not going to argue about it too much from the New Orleans perspective. So probably not a bad pick there. Number 14, Miami gets to pick up Devontae Parker from Louisville, wide receiver. Getting Ryan Tannehill some weapons down there, which is a big deal. He's a young guy still who I think is on the cusp of being an elite quarterback. I think this may be the year he kind of moves up into that, top 10, top 7 or 8 sort of category. And I think Devontae Parker is going to be a big help to have him around.
Yes, they lost Mike Wallace, but I think Devontae Parker is an upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't even stepped foot on the NFL field. He's already an upgrade. They got Cameron Jordan, an upgraded tight end. I feel like they're going to get a lineman later on to help boost that up. Obviously, they got Ndamukong Suh, so they can clog up run defense and pass rush. Mm-hmm. The defense, amazing offseason for them. Let's see if it plays on the field. But you know what? Tom Brady's in trouble.
Yeah, I think you're looking at a team with Miami, and we'll stick on them for just a second longer. I think you're looking at a team at Miami that is preparing their team for when Tom Brady retires. Essentially is what they're doing. They're getting younger guys who may take some time to develop. I mean, Ryan Tannehill coming out, I thought he was a good quarterback, but he's going to take time to develop. He's getting that time to develop. And with an aging Tom Brady, it's not going to be too much longer, and that division is going to be wide open again. So I think this is a smart pick. Get Tannehill some weapons, and you're good to go. Number 15, we've got San Diego moving up. Actually, that was a trade. Moving up to get Melvin Gordon, running back from Wisconsin. I don't think we have to argue the value of picking a running back in the first half or in the first round again. But I'm going to say this, and We talk a lot about system quarterbacks. My only question about this is, you look at the last couple of guys to come out of Wisconsin. Monty Ball, who's the other guy? Who's before Monty Ball? I can't think of the guy's name. They're all the way back to Ron Dane. You look at Wisconsin has produced good college running backs, but they very rarely had success in the NFL, if at all. Is it fair to say that it's possibly a little bit of a system running back?
I would agree that it is.
Now, I think Melvin Gordon's probably the best one over the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
But
I think if you're going to draft if you're going to draft a Wisconsin running back, this is what you're going to get. Obviously, they could have waited if they so chose.
I think so, yeah.
Got one in the second round, and may not be one of them they liked as much, but they could have still gotten a running back who could produce.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, can you name the last time they've had a running back?
Daniel Tomlinson.
I'm about to say, not a guy who actually lines up in the running back position. I'm talking about a consistent, actually productive running back.
Daniel Tomlinson.
Obviously,
Darren Sproles.
Daniel Tomlinson, Darren Sproles. Darren Sproles hadn't been there for a while. I don't know why they let him go in the first place.
Yeah.
But I think he was injured at the time. But him, and then you had Daniel Tomlinson, obviously. That last guy I'm not going to name because he doesn't even deserve to be in the same breath.
Danny Woodhead.
Danny Woodhead is kind of one of those. He's one of those tweeners.
No, absolutely. No, you make a good point. They do need a running back, but the only thing I'm going to say about it is this: is he comes from a system, and is part of the system running back where he's used to getting the ball and running downhill. Something he's not used to, which he's going to have to pick up very, very quickly. And I just haven't seen the tape of him doing it enough to know what his skill level is at it. He's going to have to learn to pass block because Phillip Rivers is going to be chunking the football. They're going to be throwing the football a lot. And I know people have been talking about, he's probably got the best hands of a running back in the draft. That's all fine and dandy. But he's going to have to stay in and block. And if he can't stay in and block, that's not a good pick. Again, we'll reserve. He should have, all running backs should be later anyways, and so that's probably a bit. They could have got him later. You probably could have traded down, got him, whatever. If he's your guy, go ahead and get him. Have at it. You need a running back. Number 18, Houston picks up Kevin Johnson, cornerback out of Wake Forest. I don't think there's really anything bad about that pick. I think that's a good, solid pick. He's a good corner. One of the top guys in the draft. Obviously, 1, 2, or 3, depending on who you're talking to. I think he's a good overall cornerback. He'll be fine there. They need a guy like that.
Immediately boosts their secondary. I'm sure they'll draft a receiver, second round.
Yeah.
There's still some that are going to be available, but immediate boost.
Yeah. So at number 17, San Francisco trades up and gets Eric Armstead.
I think this is the guy that they wanted all along.
Yeah.
I think I think San Diego called them and said, hey, do you want to trade back? And then we get 15. And they're like, you know what? We're still going to get our guy. They're not going to want They're not going to want Eric Armstead. We're going to get our guy. We're going to get another pick or so to go along with it.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect fit.
Yeah,
perfect scenario.
So for them, yeah, I think he's a guy with a lot of upside, and I think that's the thing to keep in mind. He's a guy with a lot of upside. He's not necessarily going to be great right off the bat, I don't think, but he's got a lot of upside. He's a big guy in terms of height. He's a former basketball player. He's either going to be really, really good or he's going to be a Deion Jordan type, I think is the way to look at it. He's either going to be a career special teamer and be in the league 2 years or he's going to be really, really good. Now, he doesn't have the same off-the-field problems as Deion Jordan, so that's not an issue. But
at least for now.
It's a question mark. He's a bit of a project. But if that's who they wanted there, go ahead and take him. Number 18, Kansas City goes ahead and picks up Marcus Peters, cornerback from Washington. Of course, he's a guy you've heard a lot about because of all the off-field issues.
Most of which were for the coaching staff, like you mentioned to me earlier during the draft.
I'm not as worried about his quote-unquote off-the-field issues. I think it has more to do with the coaching change, whatever. It's not great, but I think you've got a good locker room in there. Andy Reid seems like he's a coach that's always kind of been a player's coach. Everybody always seems to kind of like him. So I think that's probably a good fit. I think he's a good corner. He's got the best ball skills of any corner in the draft.
Essentially replacing Brandon Flowers.
Yeah. So I think that's a good spot. to pick him up. At number 19, we've got Cleveland with their second pick in the first round. Once again, making a good decision and getting Cameron Irving, essentially a center out of Florida State. He's a versatile guy. We talked to our quote-unquote Browns insider, Roger.
Yes, those exist, by the way.
Not officially, but he wishes he was. But he knows what he's talking about. Talked to him earlier. He thinks that Cameron Irving, at least this season, is probably going to be a number 6 lineman. And it's going to be if your center gets hurt, you replace your center. If your right guard gets hurt, you put him in at right guard. If your left guard gets hurt, you put him in a left guard. So a good, solid pick. He can play anything on the line. He's most likely going to be a center, but I can't think of the guy's name. But they do have a fairly decent center right now, so he may have to kind of float. But that's okay. That's what he's good at. That's why it's part of the reason it's a good pick. At number 20, we got Philadelphia, who after
Philadelphia was just the biggest enigma going into this.
The biggest enigma, and overall, I'm going to say the biggest disappointment. And not in who they picked, but just because I was really hoping Chip Kelly was going to do something just off the wall.
Remember when I told you they weren't going to get Mariota? Remember when I was right about that?
You were only half right. Look, season hasn't started yet.
Marcus Mariota is on the Tennessee Titans.
I'm just going to say season hasn't started yet.
If they were going to trade for him, if they were going to draft him, they would have already had him.
I'm just going to say season hasn't started yet. Anyways.
I'm right.
You're right now. That's where we'll leave that. Philadelphia picks up Nelson Aguilar, receiver from USC. A weapon to give Tim Tebow, I guess.
Essentially,
Bradford or Mark Sanchez. Whoever's the quarterback, because it's not going to be Marcus Mariota.
Essentially, Macklin's replacement. He can do everything that Macklin can do.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
Just a bit taller.
Yeah, not quite as fast, not quite as shifty as Macklin was, but not the knee injuries that Macklin was. So in that regard, it could be a step up. They did need a receiver, so that's probably a good pick. So there's your 11 through 20. We're going to take a break. We're going to come right back. We're going to talk the rest of the first round, and then we'll get out of here. So we'll be right back. Finish up our first round draft talk. So at number 21, we'll get right into it. We got Cedric Abuhi. Yes, that is. We looked it up. That's the way you pronounce it. Cedric Abuhi getting picked by the Cincinnati Bengals. Patrick, another offensive tackle going. What do you think about this one?
I think besides the ACL tear that he had, if you take that out of the picture, I think this lineman has the potential to be your versatile, durable, 10, 12-year guy, multiple Pro Bowls, anchor of the line, something Cincinnati definitely needs. If he gets 100% full capacity from the injury, I think this may be one of the best picks in the first round.
Look, I'm going to say this. I don't know why people get so caught up on injury concerns, even knee injury concerns with offensive tackles, with offensive linemen. It's not quite as big a deal. Most of those guys wear knee braces, preventative knee braces, essentially, on both knees anyways. So I think, like you, I think this is a guy with a lot of upside. It's a very good pick. At the spot, especially, I think he's got top 10 potential, and you're getting him with a 21st overall pick. So kudos, that's a good pick. We like that one. Number 22, we got Pittsburgh getting outside linebacker from Kentucky, Bud Dupree. Really more of an edge rusher, I guess. They just list them all outside linebacker now. Edge rusher. Again, I think a guy with a lot of upside. A guy that from an SEC team, not the best SEC team by far, but a guy who's got a lot of upside. And you could see, especially in a system like Pittsburgh, getting in there and really being a good fit for that system and getting after some passers.
Pittsburgh fans are thrilled that they just had him fell in the lap.
Yeah.
My boy Alex Himes, CrossFit boy, Pittsburgh fan, he, along with other Steelers fans, absolutely thrilled that he has Defensive Rookie of the Year potential.
Yeah,
and I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, I think he's one of those. He's one of those guys that you're not sure 100% what you're getting out of him. But I think that he's
versatile enough that wherever you put him.
Yeah, I think he's
shine.
Yeah, I think he's going to be good. I think you'll be okay with him. I think that, especially for the Pittsburgh Steelers, is a good pick. At number, what are we, 23 now? Number 23? Yes. Number 23, we got the Denver Broncos. That pick moving up, actually, from where they were the 28th, trading with the Lions. Pick up Missouri defensive end Shane Ray, who, yes, we are talking about the Shane Ray, who earlier this week got in trouble for weed. Already. And we are going to make that brief mention that weed is legal in Colorado. So be careful. What do you think, Patrick? Is this a bit of a reach? Or is it not a reach and the only reason he's even that low is because of the character issue getting caught with weed earlier this week?
Well, absolutely. The only reason he's down that low is because of the marijuana arrest. The foot injury did scare some teams. I think that we knew that he wasn't going to need surgery. I think that's still the case. So I think he would be, I don't know if he would be 100% ready by regular season, but I think he'll be pretty darn close. So he really wouldn't miss that many games, if any. But the character issue, not only the character issue, but the decision to have marijuana in your possession so close to the draft. What was it, Monday?
Yeah.
Whenever you make those kind of decisions, it makes teams question what kind of character you have, what kind of decisions that you make on a daily basis. Especially whenever you have these life-changing things that are going to happen in your life. What kind of priorities do you have? What kind of man are you? What kind of leader are you?
Yeah, I'm going to say this and it's going to sound whatever. I agree with everything you said. I'm going to look at the toe injury as a bigger deal than the weed bust. Now, which is weird coming from me, I know especially, that you would think I would think that. I'm going to say, just because being somebody who grew up around the Arkansas Razorbacks, I know what a toe injury can do to a career. You look at a guy like Darren McFadden, who's never fully recovered from that toe injury, and I don't know if it's the same injury or not, but...
Would the any different position have any difference?
No, because you're looking at a guy who was an edge rusher and granted, I don't know which foot it is, but whichever foot it is, either foot really, you're talking about a guy who's in a position that requires him to have a lot of off the snap. He's got to be ready to go. He's got to be able to push off the snap, and that toe, I think that's. Now, again, weed can call it that stupid decision. And so, yeah, that should have dropped him some. But I would be more concerned about the toe because I think you can fix the character issues. But if that toe, if it's more serious than maybe what it looks like right now, it could be something that long-term slows him down a little bit. And that is just something I would be worried about. I don't think they necessarily had to trade up to get him. And I think that's more of kind of where the issue is. At the same time, we're going to talk about a pick here in a couple minutes, and I think that may explain why they went ahead and jumped up and did that.
The only thing I don't agree with, I agree with everything else. There are case-by-case basis where you can fix character issues. Randy Gregory seems to be the type of scenario where it's going to be very difficult to fix character issues. Also, let's keep in mind we just had an Aaron Hernandez situation. I think...
Getting caught with weed is not the same as killing somebody.
It's still character issues.
It is, but there's so many other guys that have worse character issues than one guy getting caught with weed. I'm not trying to downplay that. I'm just saying, let's pump the brakes because I don't know of any other ones he's had. I think, as far as I know, this is the first one. And it's stupid.
No.
It's stupid, but I don't think that's something that, without having other knowledge and without having talked to him, that's something we can say, hey, it's a slippery slope. Once you get caught with weed, you're going to be killing somebody like Aaron Hernandez.
Oh, I know that. I know it's
and so
terrible,
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying, while it's stupid and it's something to worry about, a possibly career debilitating injury, like the toe injury, worries me more than a guy getting caught with weed. Because probably half the guys in the NFL at this point in time get caught with weed. And I'm not downplaying it. I'm just saying I think the toe could be a bigger issue in the long run. A guy getting caught with weed once is something you can fix. You get him in there, you get him with an older guy, and you say, listen, don't be an idiot. And that's probably more fixable than a guy like Aaron Hernandez who just, hey, let's murder somebody.
He needs to become best friends with DeMarcus Ware, basically. Essentially.
And I think that's part of the plan. They do have some older guys who can get in there and do it. So, a little bit too high.
Is Aqib Talib still there?
I don't remember.
If he is, never talk to Aqib Talib.
Don't let him around.
Never talk to Aqib Talib. He says hello, say hi. That's it.
You should be hanging out with Peyton Manning because then you won't ever get in trouble.
Basically.
Moving on, at number 24, we got Arizona picking up offensive tackle out of Florida, DJ Humphries. I think it's another guy who's got huge upside, and that's a smart pick, especially in that division. You got a lot of good pass rushers in that division. Obviously, we've talked St. Louis's defensive line. Seattle's defensive line, we don't have to talk about because everybody knows. San Francisco, not too bad of a defensive line either. So getting somebody to protect an aging Carson Palmer and a team that had a lot of problems keeping quarterbacks healthy last year is a good idea. So I think we're both in agreement. That's a good
Absolutely.
pick.
I love DJ Humphries. I love the fact that Arizona drafted a lineman. Perfect marriage. I think he is going to thrive.
That should be good. At number 25, this is kind of where I think the Denver thing. This is where I think the Denver thing plays out, and this is why they went up. Because at number 25, Carolina picks Shaq Thompson, who major reach.
This is
major
one
reach.
of the worst draft picks that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
You know where I've mainly seen. I look at.
This looks like a Cleveland Browns pick.
I have a job to where I usually eat lunch at work. So what that means is while I'm eating my lunch, I look at mock drafts every day because I have the ability to because the computer's in front of me all day. So when I look at mock drafts all day, whenever I get to watch some film because I have internet access to my job, so that's pretty good.
Doing pretty well for myself.
Shaq Thompson. Third round grade, essentially. Low, very bottom second, anywhere in the third. Basically day 2 guy.
Yeah.
Should be nowhere near first round. Didn't have that great of a combine. Essentially said, you know what, I'm going to play one position only. Don't put me anywhere else. So that kind of gives a red flag that you're not wanting to be versatile for NFL teams, where they put you where they need you because they don't necessarily need you. You need them.
Well, and that's the problem because I don't think you look at him. I think he's he's undersized to be an outside linebacker. He's undersized to be an edge rusher. He's probably a little oversized to be a safety, and he's not going to play running back either, which he's probably actually perfectly size-wise suited for.
He can cut that off real quick.
He's really a guy, I think, that you look at that he's a guy without a position. At best, you're looking at this year, he's going to be a special teamer. And so you're telling me that you're going to draft a guy in the first round who, one, is a tweener, doesn't really have a position, and two, at best, is probably going to play special teams, maybe situationally on a third down. You think that's worth a first-round draft pick? Wait, did we mention that guy was graded probably more in the late second, early third, mid-third, late third? Somewhere in that range. So you could have got this guy with your second-round pick if he's that good to you. You maybe could have got him in your third-round pick if he's that good to you. I don't think that anybody else was going to jump up and get him, so I don't think you have to worry about it. Now, saying that doesn't mean he can't be a good player.
We're not.
I got an argument with a guy on Twitter about this earlier.
He never said that he couldn't be a good player.
Doesn't mean he can't be a good player.
What we're saying is the position he was drafted at, with the grade that he had, with all the players available,
does not match.
Why would you take him in the first?
Kind of just a waste. So I think
it's kind of like Russell Wilson, for example. No one ever said that he's not a good quarterback. No one ever said that he could thrive. Where people didn't think first-round pick, you know what? I don't think he's worth the first-round pick. Second-round pick, you know what? I think we can get this guy and still get him in the third round. Third round comes, Seattle gets him in the third round. Seattle obviously wanted him. They had him on the board to begin with. They just think they could get these other players and still get Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
and that's essentially what we're saying with Shaq Thompson. If you want him, you can get him, but you can get other needs and other better players and still land your guy.
And speaking of, that guy that I think we both think they probably should have gets drafted right after them. Or the position, at least, gets drafted right after.
One of.
Yeah.
Maybe not their top, but you know what? One of.
At number 26, Baltimore picks up Brashard Perriman, which is a great fit for them. I don't necessarily think I have him. I'm iffy on whether he's a first rounder or not. He does have some issues with drops, but a guy with that speed and going to a team that has a quarterback that I'm going to say probably has the strongest arm in the league with Joe Flacco, that's a good fit. You don't have to be a great route runner because essentially what he's going to be used for is, hey, go deep.
Torrey Smith 2.0.
Joe Flacco is just going to throw the ball as far as he possibly can. You track me to outrun somebody and go catch it. So while he's not a great route runner, he has a little bit of a drop issue, especially on shorter routes. And so I'm not a big fan of him in that regard. I do think he's absolutely a need at that spot. They need a receiver, especially a big play receiver. Could they have gone somewhere else for a receiver? Possibly. There's a lot of depth, I think, in this round or in this draft with receivers. Let's say we're trying to figure out some of the guys. Marion Brown,
Steve Smith.
Steve Smith Senior.
He's going to be their new number one guy. But other than that, you got Marlon Brown, Michael Campanaro, who's good, but you know what? He's not going to be that great. Kamar Aiken, Jeremy Butler, Alec Robinson.
So you absolutely need a receiver.
Absolutely need a receiver. You need a number two guy. Can turn into your number one guy. Steve Smith not going to play that much longer.
Yeah,
obviously.
You can teach a guy to catch the ball better. You can't teach that kind of speed, and so I think that's why they went ahead and get him. I think he's a good fit. Again, for the first couple of years, especially while Steve Smith's there, it's going to be, hey, you go deep, catch the football. Steve Smith will catch everything underneath, and you'll be fine. So So I think he'll be a good fit there. Joe Flacco will enjoy having it. So number 27, we got the Dallas Cowboys picking Byron Jones, cornerback out of UConn. I think that's a good pick because Morris Claiborne is not good.
Byron Jones is the opposite of Morris Claiborne. Byron Jones strikes me as a very intelligent young man who is great at corner. Morris Claiborne strikes me as one of the dumbest people who has ever entered the NFL, and who is also terrible at corner.
Yes, the anti-Claiborne. That's what we'll call him.
AKA a football player.
Fair enough. So I think that's a good pick. They need some help on defense, especially corner. That'll be a good pick. At number 28, the Detroit Lions go ahead and pick up guard from Duke, Laken Tomlinson. If I can get his name right, I can't see too well. Laken Tomlinson. I think we both think that's a little bit of a reach. Not that he can't necessarily be a good player, but that he might have been available later in the draft. And then some of that just depends on, do you think that guy, do you get enough trade value to move down and still get him? And my guess is that probably didn't happen. Now, they need some help on the offensive line because Matt Stafford is kind of one of those guys who he takes a lot of sacks, throws a lot of interceptions because he's taking sacks. So I think that's probably a good pick, at least positionally, whether that's the guy or not. I don't know totally, but probably a good pick there.
I think he could turn out to be well.
Yeah.
It's one of those guys where he might have actually could have fallen their second round pick. They might, if they wanted him, they could have traded up in the second round to get him. First round may be a bit of a reach, but you know what? It's a position I think they really needed.
Yeah.
Boost the O-line, open up the run game for whoever rushes for them next year.
Yeah.
Don't know who that's going to be. Also helps the pass game.
If you like him, it's not a bad spot to get him.
Exactly.
You could have got him later probably, but if you like him and you didn't get trade for him, that's a good spot to get him.
Right.
So at number 29, we get to finally one of our teams because my Seahawks don't have a pick. At number 29, we got the Indianapolis Colts picking a wide receiver out of Miami, Philip Dorsett. I know I'm going to say my piece real quick for you. I think he'll be a good complement to T.Y. Hilton. They're kind of similar receivers. I think while he's not Reggie Wayne, he will be a good replacement for Reggie Wayne in the long run, I think.
No. I completely agree with you. I think...
But you really hope for Landon Collins.
Let me mention the pros before I get to my cons. I think Philip Dorsett would be a great addition to the offense. While Andre Johnson is probably going to be on the team for 2-3 years, maybe if he's going to, they're not going to cut him. He's going to be. I think he should be fine. Andre Johnson's greatest team. He'll be on there. He had 2 solid years left. Of course, we get T.Y. Hilton. We've got Dante Moncrief, who I think he'll get more reps. I think he'll explode onto the scene, maybe not necessarily early on, but I think he's a solid receiver. And I think Philip Dorsett will be great. I really do. We had more
pressing needs. Safety being one of them.
Defensive backs, definitely. Corners are fine. We definitely need safeties. We definitely needed an edge rusher. O-line was definitely a need. Maybe even linebacker. I would have been more happy with getting someone on the defensive side of the ball than getting another weapon. I knew we were going to draft a receiver. I just did not think it was going to be this early. I'm fine with it. I'm not saying that I've read so many Colts fans who want to have Gregson's head on a silver platter because of this pick. I'm not that upset with it. I think it'll be fine. And this is what I told you earlier before we started recording. Last year, we didn't have a first-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
We had to start off in the second round, and our day 2 turned out to be pretty good. We had Jack Mewhort, which I wasn't that fond of, as our first pick going in. But you know what? He is a great lineman. Then we got Moncrief in the 3rd round, and I was thrilled with Moncrief. I knew exactly what we were going to do with him. We didn't do as much with him as I thought, but he turned out to be great whenever he was on the field. So you know what, guys? If you're a Colts fan like me, just because day 1 didn't go exactly as you planned, day 2 can still be pretty good.
Yeah, again, and this is the only thing.
And yes, I did want Landon Collins.
Yeah,
I did. Gregson, if you're listening, I really wouldn't be that upset if you traded up in the 2nd round to get Landon Collins. That would be fine with me.
Yeah, I know. I think, and we've kind of mentioned before, I think there was a lot of depth at receiver, and so I think you maybe could have gotten another guy at receiver later on. Landon Collins probably won't be there. There's not a lot of depth at safety. So I would have probably gone there. It's not a bad pick, but scoring points, was not a problem for Indianapolis.
Keeping other teams from scoring points
was, so I would have gone there. At number 30, we're going to try and jet through these last couple. At number 30, Green Bay Packers take safety, Demarius Randall.
Somehow shot up as a top-rated safety in the last 2 days.
I don't know enough about him to really say good or not.
I literally heard nothing about him. I read him as a mid-second round guy.
Yeah.
Not a bad player.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
But basically, out of thin air, he came up to be the top-rated safety. It's kind of like his tape was in the bottom drawer. Also, we opened up. Hey, look at this guy! He's amazing.
Yeah, we found. So I don't know enough to say whether it's a super reach or not. I think it'll probably turn out fine. They need defensive back help. The Green Bay always needs help stopping people.
On the other side of Clinton Dix, it's going to be great.
Yeah, so that should work out fine. At number 31, we got New Orleans getting the pick from Seattle Seahawks. So we'll say Seattle Seahawks with 31st pick take Jimmy Graham. With the other 31st pick, the New Orleans Saints get Stephon Anthony, inside linebacker from Clemson. it's another guy whose name kind of, I guess, disappeared while studying up and getting ready for the first round. I'm not sure I would have picked him there.
There were 3 or 4 linebackers, I think, who had better grades than him.
Yeah.
I don't know why they picked him.
And so
maybe they think it fits their scheme better.
And that may be it. And with one of the Ryans being there, you never know. And so
that's what I think. It's kind of screwed up because one of the Ryans there.
Well, it's one of the Ryans and his defense, so I'm going to give him a little bit of leeway there. And
I don't like this Ryan, though.
I don't know.
He hasn't turned out to be good at defense.
I don't know Stephon Anthony enough to really say one way or the other. So we'll say meh pick.
I agree.
So then we get number 32, which the New England Patriots. You never know what they're going to do, but in this case, they take probably the best player on the board still at that time.
Probably.
You can make the argument that Randy Gregory was, despite the character issues, talent-wise.
100% safer pick.
Well, absolutely, it's a safer pick. But they pick up Malcolm Brown, defensive tackle from Texas. Skill-wise, maybe it may have been 1-2 and maybe kind of flip-flopping with him and Randy Gregory. Gregory obviously has the off-the-field issues, which is kind of why I thought they would go after him because it's the Patriots and they'll take whoever, and usually it'll work unless your name's Aaron Hernandez. But in this case, Malcolm Brown, I think, is a steal that late in the round. Easily could have been a top 10, top 15 kind of guy. So Patriots, once again, working some of their voodoo. I don't know how they do it every year.
That you do, baby.
Every year they seem to get somebody that they shouldn't be getting in the draft. So Patriots pulling off Malcolm Brown. Obviously a good spot, fits a need. And the Patriots are kind of like the Seahawks. It's kind of whatever they do, you're like, yeah, that's probably a good pick.
You probably
you probably know what you're doing. So, hey, look, that's the first round. Guys, so we're done with the first round of the draft. We're going to be back tomorrow, hopefully, to talk the second and third round because that's where we start getting into some meat of the draft. Quick.
Name one player here you're excited to see come off the board tomorrow.
Excited or interested?
Excited. We'll say interested and excited. 2 guys, though. One excited, one interested.
I'm interested. I'm interested to see where Jalen Strong goes. And I know that's going to be maybe a little bit weird because he's one of those receivers that's kind of in that mid where you're like, I don't know where he's going to go. I think he's a really good receiver. I watched several Arizona State games, and so the other. I would say the real interesting thing after that is who's going to be the next quarterback. Who's going to be the next quarterback and where do they go?
I can tell you who's going to be the next quarterback.
Bryce Petty?
Yes, I can tell you where he's going to go, too. 3rd round, New York Jets.
I can see that. So that'll be interesting. That's what I want to keep an eye on. Who you got real quick?
Excited? I'll say Eli Harold.
Okay.
Linebacker out of Virginia. I like him.
Who should have gone where Stephon went.
I'm excited to see where he goes. Interested, mainly just because he didn't go to us. Also because I like him. If he gets somewhere that fits, he can be one of the best safeties. I'm interested to see where Landon Collins goes.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the guys that was missing from the first round. I think everybody will be wondering where he goes. But hey, that's it. We're going to get back. We'll let you... You got a couple hours to get this in probably before the second and third round starts. So we'll talk to you after that happens. Until then, take it easy and enjoy some draft.
No, Ron! My tummy's rumbling. It's scary. Tommy's got the tum rums. You know, in America it's bling bling, but out here it's bling bang, huh?
Took what I call a wire shower. I rub my armpits with air fresheners. New car.
Oh yeah, I'm experimenting with some new entrepreneurial ideas. That one's called Sport for Thugs. Dress loud.